Good morning, everyone. I'm really pleased and humbled to be in this August online gathering. Now, I was asked to speak for about 20 or 25 minutes, but we are teachers, and all of us know that when teachers start speaking, it sometimes becomes difficult to control ourselves when we are in the flow. I mean, teachers love to talk, but nevertheless, with an eye on the time, I'll start by wishing all of you a very happy Independence Day. Thank you, Professor Father Varghese, and thank you, the Rajagiri Group, for giving IIM Kozhikode the opportunity to contribute in this wonderful initiative. Now, let me be honest with you. As my colleagues and I went through the outstanding entries in this competition, we were all highly impressed, we were humbled, and we were also very hopeful. And let me proceed to explain why we were hopeful. We all know that our school system needs re-energization, revitalization, particularly in this time of crisis. Our school system needs fresh ideas, and our school system needs role models like many of you here. Unless our schools reinvent themselves, particularly to face disruptions such as now, the much talked about demographic dividend of our country might, I worry, turn into a demographic disaster. We all know and we have heard enough of the importance of skilling the workforce of tomorrow so that our children can grow up to be able to handle the advent of AI and machine learning driven automation, which is going to take away repetitive routine work. So the workforce of tomorrow not only needs to be equipped with knowledge, but also needs to be agile, to be flexible, innovative, creative, have passion, enthusiasm. And in fact, I'm glad that the new education policy specifically says that children must not only learn, but learn how to learn. But how are things with learning outcomes in our country? Many of you would know that Pratham has this annual school education report. So the 2018 survey report shows that 27% of kids in class 8 cannot read a class 2 text, a paragraph from a class 2 book. 56% of children in class 8 in our country cannot do a simple division, dividing three numbers with a single digit. Now, there are many such data which paints a bleak picture of learning outcomes in our country, which shows that we have a lot of work to do. Is technology the answer? Perhaps yes, but according to the National Sample Survey 2018, while 24% of Indians own a smartphone, only 11% of Indians have any kind of computing device, computer or tablet or laptop. Only 24% of Indian households have internet access. And this is not just about the bottom strata or people from disadvantaged groups. Even among top 20% of the households of our country, only 50% have internet access. So therefore, we have twin challenges of how do we improve the quality of teaching and learning, and how do we overcome technology constraints. So therefore, when we are talking of innovation, I think it has to be in two dimensions. One is how do we leverage technology to enable learning, and also whenever technology is not available, how can still we be innovative and achieve better learning outcomes. Now, can we, all of us as educators, meet this challenge? Well, I am hopeful about that. Why do I feel hopeful? I'll talk about two things quickly. First, the new education policy. Now, there are many things to like about the new education policy. There are many things also to feel concerned about and dissatisfied about. We all have our views on it. I will just flag a few which I like and I think are very pertinent to our discussion here. So, what I like from the new education policy is the focus on vocational education. Every child will be learning at least one vocation from grade 6 onwards. Every child will undergo at least 10 days of no school day or internship every year. So this is very good for skill building for the future. Next, the introduction of coding from grade 6. I mean, we all know the importance of coding. White Hat Junior and other companies are bombarding us with advertisements everywhere on social media, where from Barack Obama to Bill Gates, everybody is seen talking about the importance of coding. Now, many of you are already doing that, but I'm so glad that the government has recognized the importance of teaching coding as the fourth dimension of learning beyond reading, writing, and arithmetic. So this is a wonderful initiative. Then the focus on early childhood and education through the 5+3+3+4 system, whereby curriculum will start from age 3, and the policy specifically says that 85% of the brain development happens till the age of 6, whereas there was nothing structured from the government side before that. The government curriculum, midday meal, all these used to start from age 6 onwards. So this is great that now they will be focusing from age 3 onwards in terms of infrastructure, teacher training, curriculum, creating content. Then the focus on foundational literacy and numeracy skills till grade 3. And what I like very much is the focus on experiential learning and critical thinking, where the government is talking about integrating teaching pedagogy with stories, with art, with sports, with games, and the focus on conceptual learning instead of rote learning. Finally, I also liked an interesting idea in the new education policy, the idea of issuing 360-degree holistic report cards, which will give an assessment not only of the learning from the studies aspect, but also overall personality and character development of a child. Now, many of these things are not new to you. I know in this gathering, many of you are thinking that we already do this, and I'm sure that you do this, and we have seen from your videos and write-ups that many of you are already doing these things, and that also gives me hope. That gives me hope that these efforts that schools like you are taking and the innovations that you are doing are going to bear fruit. Now, what is innovation? According to me, innovation is something very simple. Innovation is critical, it is important, we all talk about it. So what is innovation? According to me, innovation is doing things differently to achieve better outcomes. So that can happen anywhere, it can happen anytime, it can happen with technology, it can happen without technology, it can happen impromptu, it can happen without preparation, inside the classroom, it can happen from the school management, from the principal or the CEO's office. So innovation is doing things differently to achieve better outcomes. And innovation does make a difference, it does create an impact, and most importantly, innovation does not wait for a policy to come. So we actually don't need new education policy to encourage us to do innovation, and you are all shining examples of that. And where does innovation come from? It comes from attitude. I strongly believe innovation comes from an attitude to do things better, the attitude to make a difference, and that is what matters the most, this attitude. Not just the training that we have undergone, not the degrees that we hold, not the policy that the government has given, and not the rules that the school management has framed. Innovation comes from the attitude that we have to make a difference, to do things differently. Now, I'll just share a personal thought that, I remember two teachers very vividly from my own school. One was an English teacher who did a bit of innovation in her own way. Back then in 1990, she told us that when you're reading a poem from the English book, always compare and contrast that poem with the other poems in the syllabus. That will give you a new way of appreciating the poem. So whenever we would pick up a particular poem, we would try to refer back to another poem and see whether this particular poet put his or her thoughts differently, what are the strengths, weaknesses, what is the difference in the context, the feelings. That was very innovative. I also remember another teacher, computer class teacher, bless him. He used to sit quietly while we used to play computer games and the class would be over. So, the point I'm saying is that, you can create an impact for good or for bad, and, these create a long, everlasting impression. So, innovation or the lack of it, both can create lasting impression. So, innovation can happen same time everywhere. And what my teacher taught me, comparing and contrasting, a small stayed with me even now in my own research. That's what I do. I compare and contrast different strands of the academic literature. Now, how do we bring innovation in schools? That is a vast topic, so I don't want to go into how do we bring innovation. I will only say that I think culture matters a lot. The institution culture matters a lot, and that will come from the governance systems that all of us have. So the governance system, which is in the hands of the school leaders and also all of us who participate in governance, have to encourage innovation. As an economist, I would say that incentives matter, because in economics we believe human beings are rational and respond to incentives. But incentive is not monetary. Incentive can come from recognizing innovations. Incentive is simply encouraging experiment, empowering the teachers, giving them the freedom to do experiments, do things differently, and celebrating it, appreciating it from the school leaders, from the children, and from award ceremonies such as this. That I think can encourage a culture of innovation and make a difference. My final point, my last point is I feel there is a challenge also of how do we use technology to transit from what is called in the education literature knowing to doing to being. So the knowing is just the knowledge dissemination. Doing is application, whereas being is about compassion, empathy, creativity, being sensitive to society. So how do we develop that being part and transit from knowing to doing to being? In fact, the new education policy specifically says doing what is right, that is to be taught to the students. And indeed, in our Indian philosophy, there is also this holy trinity of Gyan, Pragya, Satya. So Gyan is the knowledge, Pragya is wisdom, which I'm loosely interpreting in our context as taking the knowledge one step further to application, and Satya. So Satya is truth, but I'm interpreting is as the being part. So this is part of the education philosophy in our country. Now, I do not have an answer, but I'm leaving this as a thought with all of you. How do you use technology and how do you use offline teaching to inculcate this being, to inculcate this satya or truth, values and ethics among the children beyond the knowledge and the application part? So I hope that all of you are also thinking about it, and I'm sure that you have in your own ways come up with different methods to achieve that. I sincerely hope that technology will also be appropriately used to transition from this jnana to the satya. Finally, I thank my colleagues, Professor Aishwarya, Professor Naisil, and Professor Vidushi, who were part of the committee that went through the entries and came up with the recommendations. I congratulate all of you, and trust me that I'm saying this with utmost sincerity, that I'm very humbly thanking all of you for the fantastic, outstanding work that each one of you, teachers and school leaders, are doing in this noble task of nation building. I wish you all the very best. Jai Hind.